Yeah, welcome to the yard, it's that Birdland sound. Pigtown sports, yeah, we holding it down. Bleeding orange, dripping purple, that's the code we claim. Crab cake, hustle, Old Bay in the veins. From Camden Yards to the air, we all the same. That beat more fire running deep in our veins. From the block to the booth, yeah, we bringing that flame. Pigtown sports, steady carving the game. Talking stats and facts, we don't cap, we react. Breaking plays, dropping gems, keep it all exact. Ravens on the rise, O's back in their zone. We the next up, Baltimore zone. Yeah, microphone heat when we speak that truth. It's Pigtown sports, yeah, we speak for the youth. Yeah,
grab a crab cake plate, pour that natty bowl. When the mics turn on, man, you already know we the best up and coming Orioles podcast today. Spitting stats and facts with that Old Bay flame. From the block to the booth, we don't play no games. Pigtown sports, remember the name. Woo!
What's going on, everybody? How we doing tonight? So we got some exciting stuff to talk about. At least if you read Twitter, there's some exciting things going on. So tonight we're kind of just going to recap basically what all has been talked about right now so far in the winter meetings. And then we're kind of just going to open it up to the audience tonight. So whatever you got as comment tonight, basically, I'm going to put it up on the screen. We're going to talk through it together here. I'm going to spit through some stuff. I don't have like a whole big thing planned out like I normally do, but there's a lot of good things that I've seen on Twitter today that we do need to at least talk about so far. The first one being from Jake Rill here. Mike Elias said the Orioles have enough payroll flexibility to still add a frontline starter and a top hitter. Now, there's a lot of back and forth between whether that top hitter needs to be Cody Bellinger or Pete Alonso, Kyle Schwarber, Kyle Tucker. But from the grumblings around the meetings is they are in on at least 3 or 4 of them. We haven't heard a whole lot about Cody Bellinger right now. Does he probably fit the team the best out of anybody? Probably, just because his versatility on defense. But that's been pretty quiet on his market. Not a lot of teams are even like saying anything about Cody Bellinger right now, which leads me to think somehow he's going to land in Texas, because Texas just finds a way to just stay under the radar and to just sign a big guy somehow. But Andy Casas here. Orioles have expressed interest in left-hander Ranger Suarez, right-handers Michael King, I'm not even going to try to say that. I'm sorry. And among others, according to sources. As the winter meetings begin, how aggressive may Baltimore be? From some of the stuff that I have heard, they've been extremely aggressive so far. In the Kyle Schwarber market, in the Pete Alonso market, and apparently in the Kyle Tucker market. So there's just some good things to kind of hear coming out of day 2 of the winter meetings. Now, it has been pretty slow. I mean, there's no denying that. I feel like this is probably one of the slower winter meetings to date that I can think of, at least in the last 5 years or so. But John Heyman says the Orioles are among the team in on Ranger Suarez. Terrific postseason pedigree and his calling card. Is Ranger Suarez somebody that fits us? I know there's a lot of like skepticism about his fastball, being at 91, 92, he's 30 some years old. How's that going to play long term? Look, I understand velocity wins in the big leagues, but getting outs also helps you win in the big leagues too. So as long as he can still keep getting outs, like, do I really care? I mean, probably not. I don't know. You guys tell me. A lot of people like him. A lot of people don't. Can you go 5 years with somebody like that? I don't know. That's a tough call, but listen, if he helps you in the near term in the first 2-3 years, does it matter what he does in year 4 and 5? You probably should. I would go for it now with this core in years 1, 2, and 3 rather than worry about 4 and 5, because some of them might not be here. So I don't know. So Framber Valdez is another one that the Orioles have been linked to. And interesting enough is Framber has been sending around a 20-minute clip of himself, like a hype video, trying to jack his price up a little bit. His market's been pretty slow, at least slower than he expected. I know they're saying there's a high chance that he may sign this week. His market's been fairly slow, at least for what he's expected. Are the Orioles in? I don't know, to be honest with you. I think they were early on. The numbers may have, for what he's seeking a 7-year deal. From what I've heard, a 7-year deal. I don't think the Orioles are comfortable with a 7-year deal, probably for anybody, especially Framber Valdez. But I mean, what it is, if it came down to a 3 or 4 year deal, would you give it to him? Probably. But 7, I think most teams are probably going to shy away from that. But I don't know. We'll see. Andy also says, Mike Elias says the Orioles are viewing the hitting market through the lens of do they improve the team? If the player is good enough, we can figure out ways to accommodate them. So we have a lot of conversations going on, mostly in free agency, but there will also be some trades. That puts 2 light bulbs off in my head. 1, they're looking at the top talent in the hitting market. And 2, I think they know they have to trade some guys if they do sign some of these guys. Now, if you bring in Pete Alonso, right, that allows you to trade Kobe Mayo for top-end pitching. Do they really, I mean, we talked about this numerous times on this channel. Do they really want to trade Kobe Mayo? Probably not. I think they'd be really happy to have him. He just presents the most value to bring in a top-end arm. Now, are you going to be able to get Joe Ryan or Alcantara or whoever they have their eyes set on without Kobe Mayo? No, you're not. So that's a guy I think they just see value there, but they also see value in the lineup. So it's a win-win situation for the Orioles in that regards. Now, does that mean that they're maybe... I've seen some mocks, and I don't agree with them at all, but I've seen some mocks about Jordan Westburg being available. I'm going to scoff at that a little bit. Dylan Beavers being available. You know what? If you brought back the right guy, man, that would sting, but if you got like Hunter Green out of it or Joe Ryan out of it, like, are you really going to complain? Probably not. Cowser could be available. Jackson Holiday could be available. You know, there's the whole rumors with Holiday and Skubal things are still floating around to this day. They do say that high execs around the league do say Skubal will be traded. I don't see how you can do that and call yourself a serious franchise, but if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. People say that Adley's available. I'm not really sure that he really is, but look, if somebody came to the table and said, hey, I'm giving you this, and this for Adley Rutschman, I think you probably have to take a decent look at it. That's just me. I really don't think he's available, but listen, any one of these guys with the right package, it's just like in life. Everybody has a price, so it's possible. But before I even started this show, Buster Olney said the perception in some corners of the industry is that Kyle Schwarber might be the first of the superstar position players to make his choice. Orioles among those competing with the Phillies. We have offered a contract to Kyle Schwarber. The details are not out yet. We're not the only team that's made him an offer, obviously, so it's not like earth-shattering news or anything like that. But it's a wait-and-see approach at this point. You know, is he taking these offers that he gets back? One has to assume, right? We already know about Pittsburgh. One has to assume he's gotten one from the Reds. You have to assume he's gotten one from the Orioles. You have to assume he's probably gotten one from the Mets. I would probably even say he's probably gotten one from Texas, right? Jock Peterson hit 100 last year. They're trying to compete. You know, you've got other teams. Houston is, it wouldn't shock me, losing Tucker, losing a bat, missing the playoffs if they made a big splash. Is Kyle fit them? Probably not. But I don't think it's impossible to think that he has 5-6 offers right now. Maybe even more. So it's not out of the ordinary here. But to see that he's one of the final teams with the Phillies, that makes me a little excited, right? Last year we heard about, I think it was John, is it not Mioli? Mioli's a Baltimore guy. John Morosi said Baltimore had several contracts lined up and were beat at the last minute last year. And then they basically said that they're not going to make the same mistake again this year. Do they make that mistake with Kyle Schwarber? Go back and say, hey, let me take this back to Philly. Or do they just be like, hey, our offer's so good, it's not even worth going back to Philly? I don't know. How do you fix that, right? How do you fix that? And then there's Kyle Tucker. Right? So there's been rumors that the Orioles were linked, and then there's been rumors that they really weren't interested at his price range. Kyle Tucker, from some rumors today, has contacted the Orioles himself. Wants to play here. So you have to kind of entertain that, don't you? Yeah, I would. I would. Then the thing with Kyle Tucker, and look, listen, I know probably not a whole lot of you seen this interview earlier, and I think it was somebody in the Yankees organization, but he was live on a podcast, and he claims that several people around the league have told him that there's not a burning desire for Kyle Tucker to want to play baseball. Now, you're basically saying that he's Anthony Rendon, right? He's going to get paid and doesn't want to play anymore. I don't see a guy that doesn't want to play anymore when I watch Kyle Tucker play. Now, granted, Anthony Rendon was absolutely awesome when he played with the Nationals. Flat out awesome. So, could it be true? Maybe. I'll say maybe, just because it's happened once before. But this guy, I mean, we watched him hit that grand slam off Felix Bautista. Does that strike you as a guy that didn't care in the moment? Now, granted, that was a couple of years ago. I get it. But that's a bold thing to say. You know what I mean? Like, there's even if people told you that, like the fact that you wanted to come out and say it publicly, arguably one of the best hitters available right now, there's not a burning desire for him to want to play baseball. I kind of took offense to that, like as a fan. Even a former player, like that's just weird, you know? Wasn't happy hearing that, but look, listen, if there's a way that Kyle Tucker's market goes down, do I want to pay him $400 million? No, I don't. I really don't. But if the market fell into like the 330 range, I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable. What I'm hesitant on is just the injuries. He's had, they haven't been bad, but they've been nagging, and he is getting older, right? They've been leg injuries. Do leg injuries really go away when you get older? Not typically. And if you had to move him to DH, that would be fine. Would it take you out of the running of some of the other guys? Probably, but there's a lot to play there. I just wouldn't go with the injury history. I wouldn't go over 400 for Kyle Tucker. I would still probably do 10 for 330 or something like. I don't care about the years. But 400 for a guy that might miss. Well, even if he missed 30% of his games over 10 years, like 400's a lot to miss 30% of the games. You know, like, I don't know. That's just me. But either way, I've yapped enough. Let's get to this. Tonight's about you guys. I want to talk baseball with you guys tonight. So let's get to some comments. And there's been a hell of a lot of them. Mikey says, what's the latest? Are we actually going to sign some big names this offseason? From the sounds of it, yes, right? But pen has to hit the paper. You know what I mean? Pen has to hit the paper at this point. I think we all have PTSD right now of last year and then years prior. Like, oh, the Orioles are in on everybody, and then we just came away with, like, I don't want to say nothing because they're Major League Baseball players, but we came away with things that didn't put us in the position we wanted to be in. So the PTSD is still there. So until the pen hits the paper, I completely understand why everybody says that. Diamond says, how would you fit Schwarber into the lineup if they signed him? DH, and lead off. I mean, even just now, right? So somehow, if they found a way to sign Alonso too, right? Just think about what a lineup would be like with Schwarber leading off, Taylor Ward hitting second, Gunnar hitting third, and Alonso hitting fourth, right? So now you still have your lefty-righty. You've got protection for Gunnar behind him. Could you lead Gunnar off? You could, but does Kyle need protection from Alonso, or would Gunnar need it? I think Gunnar would need it more. I feel like Kyle is probably a little bit more patient at the plate. And then you got Ward. Ward strikes the ball the other way exceptionally well, puts the ball in play when he needs to. Does swing for the fence too, but listen, all four of those guys would. I mean, you'd have to take with what you can get there, but I just think that would be just an absolute nasty lineup. Absolute nasty lineup. Laura always coming through. I appreciate that, Laura. How you doing tonight? Is that song, intro song AI? It was. I typed it up. British Raven, what's going on? Evening, Mr. Oinkers. Isn't it like 3 o'clock in the morning for you? And then a signing will happen right after you sign off. That's fine. I can turn around and come right back on. Let's see here. Do you think they make a move tonight and make me stay up to 1 o'clock on a weeknight? Probably. I was talking about this with somebody earlier, and it was like, these guys, look, it's been a long day. They've been meeting with people all day. They still want to go out for drinks afterwards, and they'll get a little banged up. And sometimes they close the deal while they're banged up on the end of the bar stool. Those things happen sometimes. They're not on bar stools, trust me. They're in high-end restaurants, but you get the analogy there. Sometimes these deals are closed very late in the night because of stuff like that. How long until Belly needs a DH? I think anybody in this year's free agent class, 3 to 4 years regardless, they're all moving to DH anyway. As long as they still perform at hitting, Some of these bigger guys, that's all they do is hit. Bellinger runs the risk a little bit more of getting injured. We saw like freak injuries with Judge before where he hit, the concrete on the bottom of the step or something, broke a toe, out for a while. You got ACLs, Achilles. You got all these little freak injuries that can happen when you're a position player. What first base, not as much. DH, not as much. So most of these guys, I would say 3 years, maybe 4 out of some of them, but it all depends. Tatsai, yep. Don't even want to try that, British. Don't even want to try it. I think Tucker's going to be overpaid and he gets injured too much. He hits about 25 home runs a year, 270. Excuse me. 400 million price points, too much. Yeah. So the thing with he still steals bases and his on base percentage is still pretty decent. I see the like for him, but 400 is definitely too much. Rumors that Alonso and Elias have a dinner date at Orlando's bubble. Oh, you've been there before, haven't you, Chris? I've been there before. It's a nice little place sometimes. Right over there from the softball fields. Not too far from there. There's some pretty good places over there, if you know what I'm saying. Ranger Suarez would be a solid fit. He would. And like I said, there's some people that talk about the fastball, the velocity, could it drop and whatnot. That's fine. Look, if you get outs, you get outs. I mean, is it cool that you blow 100 miles an hour by somebody? Yeah, it is. But, a well-located 91, 92 mile an hour fastball is still very effective. His off-speed is still elite. It's elite. He locates it really well. When I pulled the numbers, I think it was the slider, changeup, and curveball combined were in 193 average with I want to say it was a 31% K rate. So as long as you don't get absolutely annihilated with the fastball, the off-speed is good enough, maybe elite, to get guys out. So could you use the fastball as a get-me-over for a strike? Sure. Some guys live off the fastball. Some guys just use it just to stay in the zone. So it depends on what he would morph into. But there's guys that have been in this league. Is it as often nowadays when guys don't throw hard and find success? No, but there's been plenty of guys around that's stuck around in this league that didn't throw 95 miles an hour and still were very effective. Did you see Elias go on a scorched earth mission this offseason and reset the team record for most money given out to a pitcher? Hit her multiple times, assume that was Davis, was only 162. I think 162 might get broken. Might get broken with the first guy. It might. I mean, there were some rumors that Schwarber will be 5 for 150. But listen, if you're trying to really beat out Philly, you might have to go above 150. I don't know. Depends on how high you really want to go for some of these guys. Good old Wayne. So a lot of you guys don't know Wayne also played in the league. He's related to me as well. He was a catcher in the Blue Jays organization. But how hard did Greg Maddux throw? Exactly. I mean, granted, it was different times. But I still think, Greg Maddux probably still come out here and get guys out in today's game, especially with how much they swing and miss. So velocity isn't always everything. Just get outs. That's how I feel. If you could have one hitter and one pitcher from the players we've been linked to, which one would I choose and why? Great question. I thought personally that Pete Alonso probably fits the team the best just because he plays a position. He is right-handed. He's a power hitter, and he was fantastic with runners in score position. Checked basically every box that we had. As pure defense goes, Bellinger. So to pick between the two of those, it would be hard, right? And then you throw Schwarber in the mix. Schwarber's a great leader. He's just a thumper. He's not afraid of anybody. They're all petrified of him. He takes his big daddy hacks. He does swing and miss, but sometimes he connects and he can hit off the warehouse. How do you pick between those three, right? Tough question. How do you pick between those three? Because I don't know how. But if I had to, I would. That's hard, man. That's really hard. I wouldn't complain about either three. I would don't even get me on that. If we sign any of those three, I wouldn't care. But I still just think Pete fits the best overall. Overall, I don't know. Suarez and King, along with Schwarber or Alonso, would be a great offseason. It definitely would. It definitely would. They have the money for all four. And I hope they remember that. Now, they do have some other holes with bullpen and whatnot. I do want them to spend a little bit more money on the bullpen. Roughly, if you go between two guys, we'll say annually, I would hope that you would spend 23 to 30 on both, right? Depending on who you get. Bullpen is still, is it as a higher priority as hitting? Probably not. But I would probably say landing a big bat is priority one. And I know that might not sit well with everybody, which is fine. 1A can still be pitching, right? They're both a huge priority. But this team has always faltered when it mattered most on offense, right? At least in the postseason. They failed to score runs to win games. The pitching was okay enough, right? The one game in Texas in 23 was pretty bad. And maybe two games, the one game at home and one game away. But either way, we were at home and we had chances to score. We had chances to score against Kansas City, and we just didn't, right? So offense is a big priority. But then starting pitching obviously is too. The only reason why I would say offense is a little bit higher is because you still do have Kyle Bradish and Trevor Rogers. I feel like they're great, and you can at least start a rotation with those. Idea you would like to split that, have somebody in between those two, but get a big bat first, or just do both at the same time, and we don't even have to have the argument. How about that? Yeah, we talked about it. Yep, been sending around. He was using Windows Movie Maker apparently. No, I'm just kidding. Only just tweeted out the Orioles are competing with Phillies for Schwarber. Sounds like Alonso is the backup plan. Very possible. Very possible. I know there was a tweet sent out today that he is meeting with the Red Sox and the Orioles tomorrow. He did meet with both of those teams today. Whether that was via Zoom or whatnot and tomorrow is in person, I don't know, but I do know he did meet with both of those two teams today. Pete Alonso did. So what could come of that, I don't know, but it's getting exciting around here. It's getting exciting. Dave says Adley is available. Could be. He really could be. I don't know. It would have to wow everyone, but who knows? Mayo in a package would garner a top end. He would. He definitely would. At least, he would. And I know people say, like, oh, he struggled last year. I've watched other fan bases say, like, oh, he struggled. You know they don't watch our team when they just talk about that. Like, every single one of these guys have come up and struggled and then come back year two and perform pretty well. So if Kobe Mayo had to stay here next year, you could about bet he's going to perform better than he did and fairly well. He's going to help the team regardless. Pete Alonso, solid hitter, dependable, 162 games. Go get him. Trade him Mayo. I'm not against it. I think Pete checks a lot of boxes. A lot of boxes. Laura says, give them what they want. You tell them, Laura. You tell them. If you sign Tucker, I'm fine with trading Beavers. That goes back to it as well. Same thing. You know, if it, depending on who they sign first makes other guys available, I think I'm okay with it. I don't want to just send these guys off for no reason, obviously, but you know, there's good players here. They can help other ball clubs. They can help you retain pitching. That's what you brought in a lot of these prospects for too. You know, go get it done. I would love Duran. Christian says, call Boston, get Duran. I love Duran. Duran would be a great center fielder here. I just don't think that they would ever give him to us. It would cost a lot just because interdivision. I would not trade Jackson, Westberg, Adley, or Beavers. I wouldn't either. But listen, if it brought in top talent, if it helped me land Scooball, only if I knew I was getting an extension out of it, I'd be okay with it. Now, I'm not trading him just for a rental. Like, it would have to be one of those Baltimore is trading for Scooball and extending him type tweets. I need both. And then I would be okay with it. Westy, Gunner, Basayo, and Holiday. I could see that. It's a good list. It's a healthy list. If Scooball gets traded, it's to LA. I have seen that rumor. Look, LA's got 7 players in the top 100. They have plenty of position players, pitching, other stuff, anything they want, they can send back. There would be a healthy trade for both teams there. If they wanted to do it and deplete their team and farm, and then he leaves in free agency, I'd be ecstatic with that too. Trade Cowser and Mayo. I like Beaver's projections more than Cowser. For now, yeah, he's a little bit faster. Not a ton, but just a little bit. I think Cowser probably takes better routes at this point. Cowser's got a little bit better of an arm. But look, Dylan's just got a great swing. And it looks like he has a good eye. So we'll see. We'll see. Sean Murray says, I wonder if Westberg playing 107 games in 24 and 85 and 25 would push the Orioles to trade him. Westberg's a team chemistry guy and a clutch. Would love to see him here long term. I see the thing is with, even though he only played those a little bit of games, they were just freak injuries. Nothing you can do about it. He got hit by a pitch. I forget the other one, but they were freak injuries. They weren't like running or any like chronic hamstring injuries or throwing injuries or something stupid like that. I think you wait it out one more time and see what happens. I mean, this guy was an all-star second baseman in his rookie season, so I wouldn't just dump him out. Could they trade him? There's always the could. Should? No, probably not. But again, it goes back to the package. I really don't think he's available, but somebody wows you. What are you going to do about it at that point? You know what I mean? Reds, Pirates, Orioles, Red Sox, Phillies, Reds. I think the locks have that for Schwarber. I think the Mets do too, apparently, if they don't get Pete. What else we got here? Who's the source for the Tucker rumor? I cannot give that out. People have been hounding me all week for my source, and people from the Orioles have been hounding me for the source here, but I'm not giving that up. It's been something that's been helpful to our fan base, and it's provided a lot of information for people. So I don't want to give that up, but it's a healthy source. If it's wrong, then I'll clearly say that it's wrong. But for right now, that's what I've been told. Maybe doesn't want a play tag on the most expensive bat in the market. Hard-nosed guy for the Yanks and Mets. I don't know what you meant by that, Orioles bird watcher. My apologies. Maybe doesn't want to play tag. Huh. I'll have to go back to that one and read it. You call BS? That's fine. That's fine. You can call that. That's okay. I don't mind. Everybody's got their little opinion. That's all good. That's all good. Probably isn't Hustle Down the Line Brothers playing hurt. Which one was that? I remember somebody was hurt, and I don't remember who it was. You were at the Tucker Grand Slam game. I can forgive me. Yeah, man, that was rough. I never forget that. And to think, I mean, Felix hit that 100 miles an hour in the inside corner. He just like, it was like, I mean, obviously he was waiting for it, but it was a beautiful swing. It sucked to watch it happen, but my God, was it a beautiful swing. Was that exec trying to drive the Tucker price down? That's very possible. It's very possible. And it's the Yankees too. You know, they're known to do that with players and whatnot, trying drive some stuff down. But thankfully, that story didn't take much steam. I didn't appreciate it, but nobody else really cared too much for it either, thankfully. But I thought it was a little tasteless. Tucker go the Bregman route and go to a shorter and a higher AAV deal with an opt-out after his first season. It's a good question. It's a really good question. It gives him flexibility to do a lot of different things. If he did want to do that, it might be something he should probably look into. Tucker, Schwarber, or Alonso? It's a tough call, man. Like I said, I do think Alonso fits the team better, but it's really hard to deny any of those three. I don't know who I would choose. I really don't know. What the heck did I just put on here? If I had to choose one for you, for me personally, I would go with Alonso. And then I would go Schwarber, and then I would go Tucker. But again, I'm not going to care about any of those three. Just bring me one of them. I'd rather have Pete's going to pay 150 plus than Tucker. I think that's the sentiment that most people feel like. If the team fails this year, is Elias gone? Vinny, I think so. I think so. The comments today made it really sound like they're spending money, right? And if you go out and you don't, that's a tough look, man. That's a tough look to the fans. And that last year was already a tough look, and then you do it twice. You double down on it, and then don't spend. Ooh. You know what I mean? Like, that's tough. Scott says, how are the Ravens doing? It's baseball season, brother. I don't know. I don't know. Schwarber bombs are incoming. Look out below. Look out below. If we shine Schwarber or Alonso, who gets to start a catcher after all the start break, Basayo or Adley? I think it depends on Basayo's like how he progresses behind the plate. To be completely honest, how does he progress behind the plate? You know he's got a rocket for an arm, right? And Joe Singley coming in, Craig Albertez is coming in, you got Hank Conger available. The catchers are going to get a lot of work, I do expect both of them to get better. Now, I think Adley's going to go back and hit better this year too. Keep him healthy. With these new hitting coaches, I think a new, philosophy in his mind and his swing and his approach is going to help him be a better player overall again. It's going to keep his mind in the game better. I still think Adley's a good ball player. I think right now there's a lot to learn. Look, at 21 and 22, you don't have to rush him behind the plate. Let him catch his games. If that's just 2 or 3 a week, that's fine. There's a lot to learn with handling a pitching staff and a bullpen and, going up to Yankee Stadium and stuff. And he did fairly well last year, but there's still stuff to learn. I would still not, I wouldn't rush it. Even if he's hitting, I wouldn't rush it just yet. Could be an injury that could force the hand or whatnot, but if you have the ability to keep playing the two of those, and hopefully they're both performing, let's keep riding it that way. If Peach wants 6 or 7 and team's only interested in 3 or 4, say F it and give him that 6 years, lower AAV and gets the length. So I think from what I heard, he asked for 5 from the Red Sox. There was no terms given of what he wanted from the Orioles or what the Orioles talked about with him. But he requested 5. It didn't sound like the Red Sox were interested, but that's possible. If he wants the length, lower AAV, yeah, maybe. It might be a way that you can kind of entice him. The player options can entice him and whatnot. Opt-outs can entice him. There's a lot of different ways that you can get funky with some of these contracts and kind of entice guys to get here. The thing now is closing, right? You've talked to these guys, right? You should be talking to everybody, but you've talked to them, and now you got to close. That's the big thing. You got to close. And that's what we're all sitting here waiting for. Talked about this earlier. You want Schwarber. He hit 60 bombs here. It's very possible. He hit, 56 last year? 58? And I think when I looked at it, let me look it back up so I'm not lying to you guys. Baseball Savant. I want to say it was like 8 less in Camden yards. They were saying he would hit less here than what he actually hit. He hit 58. They hit 52. So if he played in Camden yards, he would have only hit 52. So they're saying he would hit less if he played here. Excuse me. They said he would hit 44 in Boston, 49 in Yankee Stadium, which I find really hard to believe. 49 in Tampa, 53 in Toronto. In Oakland, or the A's or whatever, he would have hit 60. Houston, he would have hit 52. Philadelphia, obviously, he would have hit 58. Cincinnati, he would have hit 58. Milwaukee, he would hit 57. What's the lowest? St. Louis, he would only hit 43. Oh, no, here's the lowest. Kansas City, 39. 39 out of 58. Good Lord. That's a lot. That's a lot. But I don't know. All right, let's see. Let me go back to where we were. What else have I heard? I mean, just the standards. So the pitching market has been kind of slow. They've talked to Ranger. They talked to Framber. They've talked to Maya. They've talked to Michael King. Outside of that, I haven't heard nothing. Hopefully the bullpen market. I think bullpen is probably like, if I put bat at number 1, pitching number 2, bullpen's obviously going to be number 3. Starting pitching number 2. Bullpen would be number 3. Mike's comments today were that they were still looking at a good bullpen arm, but they also wanted to make sure they left room for some of the guys that performed pretty well last year. Those guys probably being Grant Wolfram, and God, who was some of the other ones? Oh, Cade Stroud, and then I guess Dietrich Enge and Rico Garcia. Those last two, in my opinion, are the guys you probably want to upgrade on. So hopefully they get to that route, but we'll see. Let's see. Schwarber could actually hit the warehouse. He could, maybe. Do any deals involving us seem close? I think they do. When you start getting to the point when you're meeting guys in person, they're like I don't know if a lot of you guys saw the interviews today with Craig Alvarez. He basically said when they meet with guys in person, the team is interviewing the player, but the player is also interviewing the team, right? He gets to pick where he's going to play for the next whatever many years. When you start getting to that point where you're meeting guys in person, like they're saying with Pete Alonso and the Orioles and Red Sox tomorrow, you've got to be close. Like they're not just coming down there to just meet with anybody. You know what I mean? That's what the agent's for. Like the agent does all the dirty work, and then when it starts to get close is when you start meeting these guys. So, they've met with Kyle Schwarber. They've met with or meeting with Pete Alonso tomorrow. So could you say some stuff is close? I think you could say some stuff is close. That's about as far as you probably get with it right now. Is things are close. There's no numbers that have been released at all. But look, you just don't want to be. You don't want to be the team known as the leverage, right? Say Schwarber, for instance, right? If we offer him a contract and he takes it back to Philly and you get beat, right? They used you for leverage. You don't want to be that team. They were last year, apparently, according to John Morosi. So how do you beat that this year? That's gonna be the tough call. Am I hearing anything about Amaya? Out of all the pitchers, he would actually be the most attractive starting pitching option. They just said that they're in on him. There has been a whole lot of rumors about pitching, but the one, I think it was it this article here? Yeah, from Andy, that they have expressed interest in him and Michael King and others. So they've talked to him, but other than that, I haven't heard pretty much anything else. So let's see. What else we got going on here? I personally think the O's will sign Ranger Suarez and trade for another bottom starting pitcher. What's considered bottom end? I don't think you want to go get like a 5. Now, Ranger would be great, right? Ranger, you can probably slot in behind Bradish, maybe in front of Rogers, maybe. I don't know. I think Rogers has earned himself that right over Ranger. So, but either way, a 2 or a 3. Ranger's great there. But you don't want to go and get a 5. You want to get somebody better than Dean Kramer. Go get another 3 or 4. If it's a 3, right? You got to throw them in a 4. Who cares? That just means your rotation is really damn good. Don't settle for a back end guy. Like, still look for a 3 for sure. Your next comment, middle of rotation. I just did all that talking for nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Breaking news, Kyle Tucker never visited the Yankees complex. They said they have too many left-handed hitters. Listen, Kyle Tucker lives down there. They made a big deal about him visiting the Toronto Blue Jays facility. Within a 5-minute drive, he could have visited the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Orioles, and the Toronto Blue Jays within 15, 20 minutes of each other. Like all their facilities are within close of his home, right? So they did make a big deal about the Blue Jays, and that's because they made the World Series, right? If the Blue Jays won 74 games last year, like the Orioles or whatever we won, nobody would have said a word about it. So if he would have went and visited the Orioles, you wouldn't have heard about it. So that's just what it is. You go 8 for 350 with Tucker. What's that annually? I'm not very good at math here. What's that annually? So what we got here, 350. Why are you blocking that? Divided by 8, 43. I think you might be onto something there, Jabba. I think that's pretty decent. 43, rounded up, say 44 a year. You make it like 353 or something like that. 355 or something like that. You might be onto something there. I think that's fair. Why do you think there's been no activity yet? So they say that the domino is Kyle Schwarber, the one that sets everything off, right? Because once Schwarber goes, Alonso goes. And then after that, I think everybody realizes how much money they have and they go get their pitching. You would think the pitching would go first, like it did last year. But every year's different. I don't know. It's a funny year. It's a funny year, but hey, I mean, that's pretty cool. Let me type something out here real quick. All right. What do you think Elias' comments mean in regard to the bullpen? Maybe some in-house candidates, they shift to the pen like Povich. He gets decent swing and miss. Povich is pretty good against lefties. He has decent stuff. His thing actually is the third time through the lineup is horrid. It's like a 7 ERA. But the first time through is actually pretty decent. Could he be a decent bullpen arm? He probably could grow into one. And you're seeing 92, 93, 94 right now from him. You might get 95, 96 out of the bullpen out of him, which is a little bit better. You're looking at Keegan Aiken territory at that point. But he's pretty good, you know? I just don't think he's good at starter just yet. Right? He's still a lot to learn. He's still got a lot to learn. But there's some things that we can fix there, make him a decent bullpen arm. I do think they're going to look at Cade Stroud pretty heavily. Believe it or not, Geraldo. Oh God, what the hell was Geraldo's last name? Geraldo something. Sorry about that. So his changeup had the highest whiff rate in the second half of all pitchers last year, 65%. Right, his fastball got absolutely obliterated. But the changeup, right, is work on that. You find a way to harness that. That could be a good option, right? But you gotta find a way to harness that fastball. It was like a 400 average against. It was bad. But you've got guys in the minors too. Trey Gibson is going to need a shot at some point this year. Michael Ferret, Levi Wells. If you don't know that name, remember it. That fastball is electric. Smaller guy too. Not too far away. Guys like Blake Money. You know, some good players in our minor league system. So I know they want to leave some options. And the thing that they have to be careful with too is, was it 24? 24. They had nobody with an option in the bullpen except for Felix Bautista and I think it was Cano. And at that time, Cano was pitching well. But they had no one that they could move up and down, right? And it bit them in the butt a lot of times. I don't think they want to have that this year. So I think they're going to go, like Cade Stroud obviously gives you an option, like to move guys in and out. And then if you kept, was it Rico? Does Rico have an option? I think Rico has an option. Geraldo has an option. So that's three guys right there that give you flexibility to move guys in and out where you're not stuck. Like, you know, if a starter gets hurt or has to come out early and then you got a bullpen game or something, you've got options. You can move guys up and down real quick. So I think they're going to make sure that they don't run into that situation again that they did in 2024. He said, I wouldn't be in on Tucker. I would be in on him for the right price. All in on Alonso. I would be too. I like Alonso. Orioles landing Alonso or Schwarber tomorrow and landing the number one pick is wouldn't that be wild? Wouldn't that be wild? 9% chance, right? The fourth highest. That would be sick. Either way, right? If you get a top 3 pick, even a top 3 pick and still land one of those guys, I call it a really successful day. Just signing one of those guys would be a successful day. I'm past the whole prospect point, but I'm glad you did bring that up too. Because we have the competitive balance pick this year, and if we land a top 3 pick, like, are you that inclined to even keep it? You're number 34? Or can you throw that in a trade for Mackenzie Gore or something like that, right? And lessen the blow of the prospects that you have to give out. At that point, you don't need pick 34. Does it help? Sure, yeah, whatever. But I'm sending that off for a pitcher, right? You know, you got a guy like Slater DeBron in that this year. That's fine. But listen, teams value those first rebuilding teams, especially like Washington, right? They're already going to have some high round picks and a lot of them. Why not? Why not? You know, instead of having to send 2 more guys, you're sending a first round pick. That gives them more bonus pool money too. It's a big deal. It's a big deal nowadays. So I'm glad you brought that up. Hopefully they can utilize that if they get a top 3 pick. Now, the chances of them probably falling out of the top 10 are really low. But if they did, you'd probably have to keep it at that point. Maybe. I don't know. Well, if you want to win, trade the damn thing. That's how I feel. Is Suarez like a better Sagano? Yeah. Sagano gave up meatballs. Spaghetti and meatballs. Like, it was bad, you know? But yeah, Sagano was, that was rough. Suarez is pretty good. He's pretty good. Especially the postseason numbers lately. It's like a 1-something ERA. You know, a mid-3s xFIP, mid-3s FIP. Like, he keeps the ball in the ballpark, keeps it on the ground for the most part. You know, the Ks aren't electric like Dylan Cease or something like that, or Mackenzie Gore, but it gets guys out. So, question is, who gets moved if we sign Schwarber? It's a good question. Schwarber, I don't know if you necessarily need to move somebody, but I would say probably the most likely candidate would be Ryan Mountcastle. Now, if you sign Alonso, I think the most likely candidate would be Kobe Mayo, right? Because that's your right-handed power-hitting first baseman. But a strictly pure left-handed DH, basically all you're doing at that point is just taking the bats away from Basayo. But at that point, he's probably going to play first base as the left-handed first baseman. Kyle can play the outfield, but you probably don't want him to. But in a pinch or something like that, he could probably go do it. So it all just depends. Sign everybody. That's how I feel. You got the damn money. Go sign everybody. Give this fan base what they deserve. Adding a full-time DH might get it harder on Basayo to get regular bats. That's not a bad thing. Don't kill me for this. Don't kill me. I know this is probably going to ruffle some feathers. Don't kill me here. It's not a bad thing if Samuel Basayo doesn't get every day at bats to start the season. And that's tough for me to say. Again, hear me out. Don't kill me. Kyle's been there. He's a veteran. He's been in World Series games, big games, you name it. It gives Samuel time to learn, right? He's still going to get his at-bats. I'm not saying bench him every single day, but don't force him into the lineup every day either. Especially against, like, you know, if you're facing like Scuball or somebody like a Crochet, like, let him watch how Kyle handles himself in the box, right? You still give him his at-bats at first, but, you know, real tough lefty. Obviously, you give Mayo a shot and stuff like that. But just give him time to watch. Or put him behind the plate, you know, whatever. But it's never going to hurt to just look at somebody who's had an exceptional career. I don't know if I want to say Hall of Fame just yet, but exceptional. So it wouldn't hurt to learn at all. Just don't force it on him. If you give him these opportunities and he does really well, find more opportunities, obviously. But early on, you know, he didn't take many at-bats against lefties last year. especially tough lefties. That's why I'm just saying don't force it. Just give him time to kind of ease into it, kind of break him in slow. Just against lefties. Righties, give him all the at-bats in the world. Find a way to give him a lineup. I don't care if it's behind the plate, first base, whatever. But just work it in. I mean, you got all spring training to kind of get this done. You got March and April and May. And then after May, I think you start kind of peeling the onion back a little bit and start letting him go. Getting those layers off of him. Start letting him get, some at-bats against Crochet and stuff. If you're facing somebody that's not on the level of Crochet, obviously, but like a soft tossing lefty or something, or start working him in against like Carlos Rondon, who's good at times, and then at times he's really bad. So it'd be a good test to kind of get him rolling a little bit. But I would just let Kyle teach him for a little bit, and then see where you're at in June, and then start kind of forcing things a little bit. You just don't have to force it early. What's the package for Freddie Peralta look like? Thoughts on Pablo Lopez and a package for him will be a free agent in 2027. Pablo's good. Pablo's going to be a lot cheaper. I know they said they're not trading those guys. They are. That's completely leverage bullcrap. They're just trying to jack the price up because somebody wants their guys. Pablo, you could probably get away with somebody that not Dylan Beavers. Now, if you're going Joe Ryan, you're probably going to have to part way with Dylan Beavers. But under control, I think that's okay. But for Freddie, I seen the mock draft saying Jordan Westburg and Heston Kjerstad. I don't know if I would do that. I just, unless I knew he was signing an extension. But I'm not giving up Jordan Westburg for a rental. That's tough. Like Joey Ortiz was a good ball player, but Jordan Westburg is an all-star, right, in his first year. Injury history, sure. But he's also like probably one of the more like prominent guys in the locker room too, that a lot of guys look up to and kind of like follow his lead by example kind of guy. I wouldn't do that. But for Freddie, it depends on what they want, right? If you can send like Dean Kramer over and then like Bradfield and then like maybe like Ike Irish or something, or that competitive first round pick, do it. It just depends on what they want. Everybody wants pitching, obviously. Now, would I send Mia for him? Probably not. So the trade values are really hard to gauge because what we think is a good value might not just be what fits Milwaukee's system either. So that's where it makes it really hard, but do whatever. I don't care. Whatever gets it done. Any word on extending Gunnar? I know you and I have had this conversation about this cost, but we even extend him at all. I think that he gets an extension eventually. Step one is showing him that you're in it to win it. That you're here for the long-term investment. You're giving examples here. Kyle Schwarber or Pete Alonso or Framber Valdez or Ranger Suarez. You're giving these guys 4 or 5 year deal, right? So now he knows that they've invested into the rest of his future here at least. And then you can have that conversation after this year. At this point, I think you need to let him play this year, kind of see where he's at mentally, where he's at physically, what kind of numbers he's going to put up. Let him see that you've taken that step, that you're investing in this team and trying to make them better for the long haul. Doing it right now, he's just got Sammy here, so that's a little bit different. I'd play it slow with him and let it roll. There's been no talks yet that I know of, but I think once that first domino falls and we finally get a long-term extension here, those guys might be a little bit more interested. And look, I feel like the Orioles, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess relationship with Scott Boras has gotten incredibly better. Incredibly. At this point, you feel like they've got to talk every day. Mike Elias and Scott Boras, between all of his clients, all his free agent clients, they're talking every day. So it's a great thing that they're having the relationship that they're building right now. It only bodes out best. Do I think they can keep Westburg, Holiday? You did get rid of Grayson, Gunnar, and then who else has them? Beavers? No, Beavers doesn't have them. There's somebody else, but I can't remember. Yeah, it bodes well for the future. How many billionaires do they have in that ownership group? They could probably pull off a trade for Joe Ryan just with cash considerations. They have a lot. 3, I think. 3. And then, Grant Hill's got a lot of money. Kyron's got a lot of money. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of money there that they wouldn't trade just for money. It'd be great if you could. They want players back, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Alonso would be your pick. Yeah, I like Alonso. I love Merrill Kelly for 1 or 2 years in addition to Valdez, Suarez, and King, to be honest with you. I don't want to lean on Povich Wells in the back end. I completely agree with you. I don't know if Merrill Kelly's the guy. There's some other guys out there like Merrill Kelly. And I think a lot, I mean, Zach Eflin put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, but I think Zach Eflin, if they came in and said, we're going to give you a 1-year, $12 million deal, right? Come back and get healthy, see where you're at. Would that upset a lot of people? Like if you signed one of the big three, King or four, Amaya, King, Valdez, or Suarez, right? And then Zach Eflin was your 4. Would that upset people, you think? I think Zach Eflin at a 4 would be good, right? Because he knows the fan base. He knows the team. He's good when he's healthy. He sucks when he's not, but I mean, they all suck when they're not healthy. Let's be honest with ourselves. I feel like that would be smart on the Orioles' part if he wanted to accept a 1-year deal. I do know that a lot of people are a little discouraged on how he finished last year, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's tough for me to say. Do I think Merrill Kelly is better than Zach Eflin? I'm going to have to look this up now. Now you got me thinking here. So Merrill's pretty decent, but how old is he? 37. Yeah. He didn't even start till he was 30. I didn't realize that. He is good, though. He's better than I gave him credit for. That's for dang sure. That's what it was. He struggled in Texas. Okay. And then he finished off well in Arizona. Okay. Or was it the other way around? Started off good in Arizona and then struggled in Texas. Okay. I mean, that's kind of, the ball flies out in Texas. I don't know. That's a good one. Merrill Kelly, looking at this, Merrill Kelly might be better than Zach Eflin. It probably is. And there's no mites about it. It probably is. Austin, that's a good no, was it Zay Flowers and Jordan? That's a good one. I'll have to dig into Merrill Kelly a little bit more. I think I kind of overlooked him maybe a little bit more than I should have. I'll have to look at him. Bassiah will still play every day. I can't imagine not being a fan of a guy who's 50 plus. He'll still play. Yeah, he'll still play. But I would find a way to have Kyle Schwarber in my lineup at all times. At all times. Let's see. Joe said, did you find the kid throwing a snowball? Dude, I don't know if you guys saw my Twitter post or not, but if you haven't, go over to Pickdown Sports, check it out. I was just scrolling through Instagram, and SportsCenter had this dude blindfolded throwing a snowball, right? And he hits the same spot twice, blindfolded. But the freaking run that this dude had on a snowball was incredible. I mean, we're talking, where am I in the camera here? I mean, it was a foot. Like, it was incredible. And I was like, can we find out who this is and see if he can throw a fastball? So if you guys are bored and you want to watch a video, it's like 8 seconds. Put it on my Twitter there. And this dude just throws a nasty 2-seam with a snowball. It was fun to watch. Fun to watch. Alonso Bassiah could still rotate at first and DH. Yes. Yes. If you signed Alonso only, yes. If you signed Schwarber, I think the question was, what do you do with Bassiah with DH and first? Because you're still going to need Mayo to get some at-bats too. That's where it gets tricky. I think then you'll see more Bassiah at first and catcher more than just anything DH-wise. Did you see Keon Broxton was at the winter meetings looking to play outfield and first base for a club in this club? Is he really? That's a long time ago. He was, 27 when he last played here? There's no way he was really there. Really? He's 35 years old now. I remember racing him one time. Didn't go very well. That's funny if he's really there. Do you think we need more than just a top-end free agent pitcher and a position player to get back to the playoffs? Too many holes to fill? I wouldn't say there's too many holes. There's guys that didn't perform to their expectations last year. I will say that. And Craig actually admitted to that last year, and Mike did as well. A lot of guys just didn't perform like they thought that they were going to perform like. Step one for this coaching staff is to get the core of this team to play to their potential again. You are not going to win with any free agent that you sign unless your core gets to what you think they're capable of doing. If they all come out and play again like they did last year, it doesn't matter if you have Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso and Framber and Ranger. You're still not going anywhere. You need the core of this team, Cowser, Westberg, Holiday, Gunnar, Adley, Basayo, Mayo, whoever else you want to throw into that mix. They have to perform at an above average level compared to what they did last year. So, because if you repeat last year, you might win 80 games with Kyle and Pete, right? They gotta hit more, right? So, step one for this coaching staff: fix those guys, and when you fix them, I think everything else falls into place. But no, I think if you fix them, I would say 1 or 2 arms and 1 bullpen arm. So we'll say 3 arms total, right? You pick between 2 starters or 2 relievers, whatever you want to do, and 1 more big bat. You can't settle on that bat either, I think. You got to swing big. If that's Kyle Schwarber or Pete Alonso or Kyle Tucker or something, Cody Bellinger, I think it puts us in a good spot. But you got to swing big. If the Dean Kramer is anything besides a number 5 or a bullpen, it's a failed offseason. I agree with you, Vinny. They got to finally stop. And Dean is really good for a 5. He's really good for a 5. It's the injuries that constantly kind of thrust him up into that 3 where things have become a failure. So they got to fix that. Such a young clubhouse. I hope they can get to be a leader, give positive guidance. That's what the biggest draw to Kyle Schwarber is, apparently, is just how good he is with the younger players, and just how good of a clubhouse guy he is, the veteran leadership that he provides. And I think with this coaching staff too, I think with accountability, they've talked about numerous times. So getting 1 more guy in there to kind of help them, it all just makes everything a little bit better. Gary Thomas reposted this stream. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it, brother. Christian is not allowed in chat tonight. He's a Steelers fan. I know. We let him in here anyway. How soon do you expect a deal to get done for any of these guys? You and I both know, or pretty much everybody in this chat knows, that something's going to pop off at 1 o'clock this morning somehow. This just seems how it goes. But I said it earlier. I thought this winter meetings is slow right now. You would expect it to be a little bit like at least some of the smaller guys to sign by now, like some bullpen arms or like backup, outfielders and whatnot. It's been nothing. It's been very slow. It's been kind of weird. Adley, Mayo, and others in a package for Scooball. It's 100% going to be headlined by Jackson Holiday. And you're also probably going to have to give up a top arm like Mia or something like that. Could you throw Adley in there? I don't really think they need Adley. But Mayo, maybe. The problem is you have Torkelson. It's got to figure out what we match up with them. So I don't know. It just depends. Mike Elias said it best today. We're going to make this team better and worry about positions later. I've never heard him talk like that before. I like the mentality. Made light bulbs just flicker off in my head. I loved it. I loved hearing it. It almost felt like dirty talk, right? Baltimore fans aren't used to that. I loved it myself. We've been saying that, look, Boston did it last year, and it became a distraction, and they traded the distraction, and they were a fairly decent team last year. Figure it out. The guys want to win, they're going to fall in line. Who would be your favorite starters to sign to the free agents available? Favorite starters? I'd like Michael King a lot. I think his stuff is filthy. I like King, I like Suarez, and I like Amaya, and I like Framber. If I had to pick, it would probably be King, and then Amaya, and then Ranger. I think I'd put Ranger ahead of Amaya. So King and then Ranger. Let's just get both. But probably definitely King. He's got some nasty stuff. You just got to keep him healthy. His thing is at least not been the arms. It's just been the lower body. So hopefully you can kind of correct that, but he's just got some nasty, nasty stuff. The way Elias played the last year and a half, 2 years left, he's not untouchable. I don't think he's not untouchable. I just think that this coaching staff is going to get a lot better at Adley than what we had previously. Trade our whole farm system for a 3-team trade to acquire Skeens and Scooball and become the 30th ranked farm system of baseball. I wish it worked like that. I wish it worked like that. It'd be fun. I just don't. I think Pittsburgh owes it to their fans to go for it. They have, Bubba Chandler coming up. They have another guy that I don't remember his name, but he's really good too. You got Jared Jones coming back. You still have Mitch Keller for now. I know they traded Oviedo. They still have a lot of talent on the pitching side. They just got to find some hitting. And I just feel like even what they're getting back for their pitching in the last 2 years, it's just not good enough. Last year, I forget the guy's name. He got suspended with Emmanuel Clase Ortiz. Luis Ortiz. Last year, I wanted to trade Ryan Mountcastle for Luis Ortiz. And they went and traded for the guy from Toronto, the first baseman. And he ended up getting hurt. Maybe they valued him over Mountcastle. I don't know, but I thought that would have been a great deal for both teams. But, it is what it is. And then Ortiz got caught up with the wrong guy and got suspended. Now he doesn't ever play baseball anymore. Beavers look like a second coming of Kyle Tucker. Something about that swing. It's a funky swing, but it's a very effective. Very effective. A lot of people have made that comp with Kyle Tucker, too. You agree? Broke his finger running the second. Westy. Yeah. Yep. Hit the bag when it bent. Yep. Exactly. It was a freak accident, right? Those things happen, but it's nothing that you can say oh, he's injury prone, right? Because he slid into the bag. He hurt his finger. He got hit by a pitch. It's just dumb stuff. How quick do we think something gets done? I don't know, man. I don't know. Hopefully fast. I've seen you ask that before. My bad. What's the Tucker rumor? I wouldn't really call it a rumor. He called Mike. He called Mike. He wants to see what the interest for the Orioles have with him, and he is interested in playing here. I'm sure he's probably his agent. And so listen. Take this with a grain of salt, though, because his agent is also Kyle Schwarber and Michael King's agent, and the Orioles have been linked to both of those players. So to say that, they haven't spoken about Tucker, they have, right? The guys, they've been talking to this agent for weeks now, right? They've discussed Kyle Tucker at this point. People don't give up sources or they don't have any. Very true. Westberg is the king of freak injuries. Got to get that figured out. Life would be so much easier if we could all figure that out, wouldn't it? The Orioles are getting somebody over the line would honestly fill me with some electricity at 2:16 a.m. Bro, you need to go to bed. Somebody else say, see Keon Bruxton was in winter meetings. Oh, I think I read that before already. Does O'Neill have trade value? Is it a lot? Maybe not. But somebody's going to value it. Look, he's hit 30 home runs in this league, right? So it's not like he can't do it. You just got to keep him healthy. I think somebody knows eventually they're going to keep him healthy. He might get healthy this year and really help the Orioles. Who knows? That the whole fan base has written him off. So, maybe he comes out and just annihilates this year. Who knows? But I wouldn't say he doesn't have trade value because everybody has trade value at some point. Kansas City really needs a power bat and they need an outfielder or whatnot. But, it just depends. The contract kind of knocks everything down because that's a little rich for most teams that need an outfielder. I guess you have to lean towards probably no just because of the contract. Do I see us getting another big name reliever? Man, I hope so. Brad Keller's pretty decent. Kyle Finnegan's pretty decent. I don't think you're going to convince, like Fairbanks or anybody like that to be a setup man, but I think Kyle Finnegan probably fits that role the best to be a setup man. There's some other free agent guys that you can maybe go, and maybe you can swing a trade for a pretty good one. I mean, hell, Seattle did, right? They gave up the number 3, number 4 prospect, Harry Ford, for basically a relief arm. Now, granted, he's got a lot of control when he throws fuzz, but go do the same thing. If you got somebody that is maybe blocked here, trade him away. Go get a controllable relief arm. Go try to get Griffin Jacks or something like that. Somebody who's pretty damn good. Sources have seen Heston Kjerstad a lot at the Fayetteville using the facilities. Good. Look, as long as you got a jersey on your back, your career ain't over, right? So you can come back out and start hitting the hell out of the ball, which we hope he does, right? And then we see him back in Baltimore, hopefully. Anybody you can help the team get better, you want to see him get going. Jason says, Joe, I believe Kjerstad gets traded. Maybe. Next guy. Have you heard any updates on Kjerstad? I haven't personally heard any updates on Kjerstad. I know Joe is a big Arkansas fan and follows Kjerstad. Kjerstad's wife actually posted a picture of him not too long ago, and he looked fine, looked in shape, looked healthy. So, I mean, that's the only thing that I've seen or heard. We'll find out in spring training. They've been kind of mumbling that, which is weird. So look, maybe he asked for that to be that way. I don't know. We'll find out in spring training. I'm really excited for Cade Bodine. Adley should be a free agent by then. Basayo might be made the switch to first or DH. Bodine's going to be good. He's going to be real good. I mean, Joe Singley made him one of the best catchers in the country within a year or two at Coastal, and now they're back together again in the big leagues. Like, if he gets there, that could be special. I'm worried about Basayo staying healthy, so I'm more inclined to DH. Yes, I mean, he has battled the elbow injury for 2 seasons now to start the year, so I can see exactly why you do say that. Heston would be a throw-in for some trade. He has almost no value. That's possible, too. That's very possible. Which reliever do I think we signed to help the back end? I hope, personally, just because I dove into him, was Kyle Finnegan. There is other guys that I could dive into, obviously. I just haven't had the chance to do it yet. But there's plenty of guys. I mean, you see so many dudes all the time get 1-year deals. You don't even know their name, and they come out and they're throwing 98, 99, 100 mile an hour, and they're helping their team. So find one of those guys. Who do I think the Orioles are signing next? I think it's going to be Kyle Schwarber. I do. We'll see. Holy shnikes. Jalen Hurts with 3 picks. Oh, boy. I wish I had that over on the other side of the screen here, but I didn't. Damn, Rick, that hurts. Let's see. Signing someone like Tucker or Framber would be awesome, but I'd be okay with Suarez and Schwarber or Alonso. I think everybody agrees with you, Raphael. I think everybody agrees with you. This can't be good, though, if he's in a division causing the Boston Red Sox to spend a lot more, if that's a good thing. To spend a lot more. That's what Thomas Downey says. Yeah, I agree with that. Will Rubenstein possibly involved to talk to ownership commitment to push the negotiations over the top? Who's Will? You mean David? Let's see. Given Pete Alonso's market seems much larger than last year, I have a feeling the Mets will match whatever he offers. Maybe. So I think the Mets are in trouble. Not financially, but just like they've got holes to fill. And can you dump a bunch of money into Pete, or should you spend it on like filling several holes? That's just me. I don't know. Probably Kyle Schwarber. Getting teams in the division to spend more money is positive about being used as leverage. I just don't want the Orioles to be used as leverage. Why does that keep popping up? As long as we're not being used for leverage, that's the big thing. We've been used as leverage in the past, and we need to be the team now that finally seals the deal. Wells or Kramer for number 5? Probably Kramer. I think he's earned that. Wells has been hurt for a while. What role do I see Tyler Wells playing on this year's team? A big one, to be honest with you. Remember what Suarez did in 2024, Albert Suarez, where like he was that like Swiss Army knife where he would make some spot starts. Sometimes got used in the 7th or 8th inning. Sometimes had to be used in the 5th or 6th inning, extend the game a little bit. I see Tyler kind of that same role for right now. I just think his stuff is pretty good to where he eventually could morph into like a 7th or 8th role kind of guy. But for right now, I see him as that Swiss Army knife where they're just going to try and just get him some outings, get him some, see where he starts to kind of fit in, but just get outs. And he's good enough to get outs no matter where you put him in the game. Live mathing with oinkers. Yeah, you'll never want to see me do math. I'm terrible. The maths. Yeah, failed it a couple times. Schwarber, Amaya, and King is the dream offseason. Corby, I think you hit it on the head there, brother. Definitely is a good one. Hurts out here killing fantasy teams 1 pick at a time. I stopped playing fantasy like 12 years ago. I hate it. Yemi Geraldo. There you go. Thank you, Corey. Yep. I was talking about his changeup earlier. Barkley has been a disappointment too. Elias gets Schwarber or Alonso done in Baltimore. Needs to give him a key to the city. Maybe. I don't think they're done there though. Just one doesn't get it done. They got more to go. Sign Alonso, Framber, trade Mayo for Gore or somebody else. That's the vision. That's a damn good vision and would set this team up extremely nice. Extremely nice. It's been a while. I probably, if you guys are on YouTube and whatnot, drop a like on the stream here. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, drop a sub. We try to go live as often as we can. I bring out some content videos. I break down, swing analysis. I do pitching analysis, stuff like that. So if you're new here, drop a sub button too. Glad to have you guys. I appreciate we got 223 chats tonight. I appreciate every single one of you. If you're bored, you like this kind of thing, you want to kind of help me out, there's a membership button. It's not expected or anything like that. It's just appreciated. It just kind of helps me be able to spend on nice things to give you a nice content rather than just kind of using just the same old, StreamYard or something like that where things are kind of boring. It lets me go in here and do things like this, right? And give you more of like a visual stream. So just little simple things like that. Again, not expected, just always appreciated. So figured it'd be a little bit of time to kind of plug that. But we'll get back to you guys here. Orioles are going to have to land somebody we haven't been talking about. That's normally how it happens. That's very possible, Thomas. I think they're acting like Texas right now, where it's just like under the radar, boom, right? They make that signing. Right now, they just got to get pen to paper. That's just a big thing. Got to get the pen to the paper at this point. Excuse me. Hot take. Baseball should change the rules so you can trade picks like any other sport. Excuse me. They've changed this where you can do competitive balance picks. But like, I think they don't because of the like the cap that you have. You can only spend like X amount of dollars on draft picks. The bonus pool money. So like just willy-nilly spending that, like say if some team like acquired like 4 or 5 first round picks, right? Their bonus pool money would be like $40 million. Probably not that high, but you get what I'm saying, right? Normally they're like 18, 19. It's like on the high end, but if somebody had 4, 5, 6 first round picks, like you got to really bump that up there. Can they even afford that, right? That's where it becomes into play. I think it's too sticky. That's got the number 1 pick with a 10% chance we have a good shot. It'd be great. Do you think we could put together a package for Pivetta? We could. The question is for what? Like, what do you want to spend on Nick Pivetta? And how old is Nick Pivetta? That's a big question. 32. Okay, so 32. Contract's not terrible. He still has he signed a 4-year. Was it $55 million? So he has actually an opt-out after 2026. A player opt-out. Which he likely would do, it looks like. So Nick Pivetta would be a 1-year rental because his player option, he's making $20 million this year. He made $2.5 million last year. He's making $20.5 million this year. Next year, which is why he's going to opt out, he only makes $14 million and then $18 million in 2028. Right? So if he pitches again extremely well, at $20.5 million, right? So your qualifying offer is going to be roughly 23, 24 already. So he's going to opt out. He's probably going to turn that down. And if he pitches well again, he's going to get more than $14 million, right? So you're looking at Nick Pivetta for a 1-year deal, and you're going to have to give up some good prospects for that. I would stay away. I'd stay away. It's a good contract, but it's a bad contract because he has an easy out. It wouldn't be fair to send off a pretty good prospect for that. Trade with the Padres for Kevin Cobbs. Why not Jackson Merrill? Love to get the guy here. Do you think we miss out on Pete and Schwarber that we pivot to Bregman and Bichette? I think Bichette should be in play right now, to be completely honest with you. I would definitely have them dialed up just to be safe. Play Sammy at first, they probably do. It's funny is none of us expected Tyler O'Neill to give us much of anything, and he was on a big signing last year. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody expected him to be hurt, and he was. But he's a decent Major League Baseball player, and he could help this team. Basayo has to have consistent at bats. You can't sit him. I'm not saying sit him. I'm just saying if there's a tough lefty, don't force him in the lineup. Just let him get his wings a little bit. Because in AAA, I think I forget who it was. Was it Beavers maybe? It was somebody that we had. Only had 49 bats last year against lefties. The whole year. It was 400 against righties. You just don't see lefties that often in AAA anymore. So to kind of just thrust them in there, just let him learn from Kyle a little bit. Let him get his feet wet against some other lefties, not against the big guys, and then kind of see where you are. That's all I mean. And don't start this again, Joe, this year. You jinxed this last year. Say the O's are going to win 80 games, so then when they win in 108, we're all happy. The East is too tough. The East is always tough, man. That's why you got to go after it all the time. Alonso being a Boras client will milk this for a while. I believe the Red Sox really want him to. They do. Could he milk it? Maybe. I think he learned his lesson from that last year, though. I think he might. Look, if he gets a deal he likes, I think he's going to take it. You took so much heat for it last year. Why not run it back? I like your style, Joe. We are not the Rays that can make homegrown names. We should be. Hopefully, with this new coaching staff, we can be. Would I be on Zach Gallen for a 3 or 4 year deal? I don't think so. Not that long. That's a tough one. The metrics have just been kind of falling off. I don't know if I'd go that long. Maybe one. Do you see Boras backing down from recommending free agents to his clients? That's a tough question. I think it depends on the player. I think obviously he just wants everybody to get paid. Now, if you go in and you offer an incredible contract, he's going to tell you take it. You know what I mean? But it depends. If you're extremely happy in Baltimore, you can tell him that you want to stay. Altuve did that to him. He's like, dude, I want an extension early. I want to be here. And he signed it. And it was a long time ago, but he signed it. Jordan Montgomery did the same thing. He told him no. Jordan Montgomery fired him. So it's the player has a little bit of pull here too. Sagano led the AL home runs given up. I know, it was terrible. What do you think we see that first domino fall? Hopefully tomorrow. We're all sitting here itching. Hopefully tomorrow. How can we realistically upgrade center field? I respect Hauser and think he'll improve, but we can't run out a 200 hitter every day in the center field. That's a great question. Harrison Bader is available, but you want to pay $10 million to a guy to play center field? I don't know. I think you realistically hope that this coaching staff, Donnie Eckert, Dustin Lin, gets more out of Hauser back to being a contact hitter more than a power hitter. I think that's the route you got to go right now. Now, if he struggles, you have the trade deadline, obviously. Teams would be more inclined to move their players. Right now, they're really not. The only really decent option to move is Brenton Doyle, and that's really not even that decent. I think you just got to roll with Hauser right now. It's a tough position around the league. honestly, being on Eflin back on a team-friendly deal, people forget he was great down the stretch in 24. He was an opening day guy in 25. He was good till he got hurt. Exactly. I think he'd be great at 4. Pivetta at a 4, 25-plus games started every year since 2017. Pivetta's fine if you're okay with a 1-year deal. Is Eflin healthy by spring training? It's a good question because they haven't really talked too much about him. Eflin would be a valid candidate, a supplement ranger. Maybe. Do I have any untouchable prospects? And if so, who would I part with for Scooball? It's a good question. To be honest with you, I don't think anybody should be untouchable. There's some really good players, but I think you got to just take. If you look, you're in it. You got to be ready to win, and you got to take a shot. You got to take a shot. Now, nobody's untouchable. Go after anyone and everyone. Bruxton is here looking for. Oh, he's looking for a coaching position. Gotcha. I like Bruxton. Elias better back up this talk with action. It's a fireable offense, in my opinion, if he doesn't. He's saying all the right things. He has a different tone this year. He definitely does have a different tone, but this fan base will riot if he sits on his hands again. I completely agree. You better stop it, Joseph. Shine Charlie Morton and Dallas Keuchel. Stop it. Hope Westy gets a better mattress. Better be buying his own. Better be buying his own. Nasty lefty lever would be great. I agree. Do we upgrade center field? I think at some point in the season we probably do. At some point. Is Elias our acting GM even due to president of baseball operations? Doesn't seem the actual GM hurts us in terms of free agent talks. So the president of baseball operations basically does the same thing. It's almost the same kind of role. You just make a little bit more money. Sorry, I thought my dog was chewing on something. He's the acting GM, right? He's doing all the exact same work. Will they hire a GM someday? Yes. He'll take some of the load off the plate, whether that be on the major league roster or the minor league side. I don't think they're too much of a rush to try and find somebody to fit that role. But he's fine right now. Yankees sniffing around on Gore. The Yankees, to me, I think they have to live this offseason in the trade market. Like, they keep talking like they don't have money. They don't want to spend money. I think they want to get below the threshold. They're going to have to live from trading somebody. They don't have enough to trade, in my opinion. They don't have a good enough farm system. Who do you think is Plan B of the Oriole reunions of Austin Hayes, Gregory Soto, Ryan Hearn? My only Plan B out of that would be Gregory Soto, and I don't even like him. But he's a lefty that throws hard. That would probably be the only one I would want back. I like Taylor Rogers too. Taylor's good. What are my thoughts on Bradfield? I like Bradfield a lot. Obviously, he's one of the best defensive outfielders in the game right now. Even in the big leagues, probably. What I saw at the end of the year with his batting stance, I think that they probably changed this year, if not already. I don't know if a lot of you guys saw it, but he was literally facing the whole body, facing the pitcher, front toe facing the pitcher. It was kind of awkward. I think he's fine enough to hit in the big leagues. Is he going to be a 280 hitter? No. But if you get 230 out of him and like 3-4 home runs and he steals 70 bags and has 40 RBIs, like, are we complaining? Probably not. I don't know if the dog has to pee or not. I'm going to have to wrap this up here soon. John Meade's 1-year deal? Nah. Who plays the most games in center field? Cowser. I might have to let the dog out to go pee. I might have to wrap this up here, guys. Let me scroll through and make sure I didn't miss anything. Hold on, buddy. The Cubs don't sign Gallen. The Cubs are going to hate Bob Nightingale. I don't think they're going to sign him. Best sack in the content game, I said. Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate that, Laura. We love you too. Like, subscribe, and become a member. Yep, we appreciate it. What if Arizona asked for Jackson Holiday for Cattell? I think you got to do that, right? I mean, it's an MVP caliber player who has some time left on his deal. I think you have to do that. Do I think Jeremiah Jackson makes the opening day roster? Yes. Yes, I do. I got to wrap this up, guys. My dog's got to pee. I'm sorry. Can you hear him? Does Eflin return? My crazy saying I believe Beavers is center field range. No. I think a lot of people have said that. So he's got to pee, guys. I got to wrap this up. 10:17 anyway. And there's 1,795 of you watching. Holy crap. So we got 79 of you on YouTube, 1,716 on Twitter. Twitter coming through tonight. Heck yeah. All right. Anyway, I appreciate every one of you tonight. Tonight was more of a let's just chat with the fans kind of thing. I will catch you guys later. If anything pops off, obviously I will make a video about it. We'll go live. We'll talk about it. But again, if you're new here, come on over to YouTube. If you're on the Twitter rolls, come on over to YouTube, drop a sub, drop a like. Let's come out. Let's have a good time. These kind of content is all the time. I drop a lot of different videos and whatnot. So I will catch you guys later. As you can hear, I think the dog's really got to pee, so I got to get running. But thank you to every single one of you who commented tonight. We had 251 comments. Appreciate every single one of you. Have a great night.